Astropup, prisoner of the cat pirates. Hello, this is Richard, and I'm here with the next part of our space saga, Astropup. In the previous episode, Astropup launched a rescue mission to save his friend the parrot from the clutches of the pirate cat people. Unfortunately, it all went disastrously wrong for Astropup and his canine friends. To find out what happened next, let me hand you over to Astropup himself.
What dismal dogs we were! Our tails were well and truly between our legs, as the pirate cat people marched us away at the points of their laser guns. They led us to a corner of their camp that seemed rather like a garden lawn. But we were fenced in by a crackling electric force field. We could not see the walls of our prison, but if we brushed up against them, we soon knew. The invisible prison stung like a vet's needle. But by far the cruelest hurt was to our pride. Cats prowled around the perimeter, hissing and meowing insults at us.
Just look at the big, brave doggies. They don't seem so fierce now, whimpering and shivering away. Ah, poor Poochie Woochies. Go on, wag your tails, sit up and beg like the fawning, slobbering, stinking slaves of the humans that you really are. Beg. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
The Doberman charged at the cat person, who swung around and pointed his laser gun. But there was no need for him to fire, because the brave dog ran hard up against the force field and bounced back with a bruised nose. How those filthy felines cried with laughter. We all barked our heads off. And then the real torture began. Loudspeakers began to broadcast the most awful cat music. Oh, my poor head! I thought that my brain would explode. The caterwauling and meowing was driving us all crazy. This torture was against all our canine rights. But nothing lasts forever, and somehow we survived 2 hours of feline orchestral punishment. By this time, we were wrecks. The guards pulled down the force field, but our quivering legs did not have the strength to run away. It was all we could do to stagger in the direction that they led us. And that was towards their cat battleship. Oh no. Oh no. It was clear that they were planning to take us as their prisoners to another planet. I don't know if you've ever seen a feline spaceship before. If you have, it's a sight you will never forget. They are particularly terrifying when you look up into the sky and see the shadow of a cat mask hovering above you. This one was on the ground. The front of it was open like a mouth, and we had to walk up a rough surfaced ramp like a cat's tongue. I now know what it feels like to be a mouse being swallowed by a cat. It was here that I was finally reunited with my old friend. But I was not greeted with a happy squawk. The parrot major had his beak tucked under his wing. He did not move. His feathers already looked raggedy. He had become a sad parrot, what some people call a perch potato. "Hello," I said. But he did not move or so much as squeak. Our invisible cage was the centre of the ship's main flight deck. We were again imprisoned by a force field. We could see all that was going on. White-suited cat people were running systems checks on the controls, lights were flashing, and computers were meowing. The pilot of the ship was running a flight simulation and adjusting the whisker controls. Those cat ships are highly manoeuvrable. We were not the only prisoners upon that ghastly ship. The wall opposite the control panel was lined with aquariums. Some were filled with water and contained fish of all colours and sizes. Others formed glass cages for poor, innocent mice. These creatures were, of course, on the cat's menu during the long flights across the universe. What an awful thing it was, that ship! Eventually, the parrot looked up and said,
"Dear dog, it's me they really want. I'm sorry that you're a prisoner too, all because of my notoriety. Oh, I wish you had not tried to rescue me. On top of everything else, I feel guilty now about you."
"Well, I had to try and save you," I said.
"So loyal,
Said my friend.
so brave, so stupid."
"Thank you," I replied, "because we dogs consider it a compliment to be called stupid. Stupidity is the highest form of obedience." The preparations for liftoff continued, and cats and cat people came in and out of the ship. The cat people brought boxes and cargo on board. The four-legged cats climbed up through the metal rafters of the spacecraft up above the control room. Suddenly, one of them jumped down in front of our cage. "Hello," he said. "Remember me?" "Shh," I said. "Don't let them see that you know us. They'll be angry with you and you'll be punished." For this was the one and only cat whom I've ever counted as my friend. He was the good cat. "Don't worry, they already know all about that," said the good cat. "What do you mean?" "Well, I switched sides, of course. I betrayed you. That's why you are here. I'm a hero. In fact, I'm a rich hero." "What? Treachery? You mean you sold your friend? How can that be? It's impossible. I thought you were the good cat." "I was the good cat. Now I'm not anymore. Every cat has his price. Now you will be coming with us to our planet. There's a pretty price on the head of your parrot friend. We'll all get a fat reward. I should thank you, really." "Don't bother," I said. The ship began to meow louder than before, and the door pulled up like a drawbridge. "Well, now I must get to action stations," said the good cat. "We're about to leave. It's been nice talking to you. Have a safe journey." And he leapt up onto a rafter and disappeared above us into the roof of the ship. Moments later, I could feel in my stomach that we were beginning to hover off the ground. Through the window, I could see the tops of the trees. The morning sky was tinted a rosy pink. It was strangely beautiful, so like our own dear planet Earth. We shot sideways, and all of us dogs were thrown over in a heap and rolled against the wall of the force field. But then the ship began to hover again above the sea. Why, I don't know. Perhaps they were waiting for the all clear from Cat Command, or perhaps they had to run one more check before blasting up into space. But it was those moments of delay that saved us. There was a streak of white blinding light, followed by a loud explosion. The whole ship began to judder and shake and was filled with meows of terror. The sound was deafening and awful, and I was certain that we were about to meet our doom. But at the same time, I was delighted and thrilled because so many ghastly cats were going down with us. They were running here and there in panic and jumping around like fleas. Smoke was coming out the control desk, and then we dropped straight down out of the sky onto the sea. But we didn't sink very far beneath the water before the ship righted itself and floated on the surface. The waves tossed us gently from side to side. We were no longer a flying ship, but a floating one. And what was even better, the force field had failed, and we were free! What fun we dogs had chasing those scaredy cats around their own spaceship! I bit a cat person in the seat of the pants, and boy, that tasted good. There was fur and bits of white spacesuit flying everywhere. I don't think I've ever seen such a scene of mass panic. But then, oh no, seawater started to seep into the ship. At first, it wet the ground and we started to slide about. But before long, we were wading through it.
We're all going to drown!
Squawked the parrot who was flying up above. But we weren't, not yet anyway, because the door of the spaceship flapped open. And this was the best part. Scores of terrified cats ran out down the ramp and jumped into the sea. And you know what cats hate most of all in life, perhaps even more than fleas, and that is water! They were sad and soggy moggies who swam the short distance to the shore. But we dogs love getting wet, and we were only too happy to jump in and swim. On the beach, we shook ourselves dry and resumed the chase. Soon all the cats were scattered in different directions. Some ran into the bushes, others up trees, still others I don't know where, but the joy of it was that they were all gone. We dogs ran around in circles, woofing our heads off with the thrill of freedom. We were not alone in our celebration, however. Well, there was somebody else down there on the beach. He was walking along the shore towards us. He was a human. He held a gun across his chest. He was Marlowe, the man with the laser gun, who we'd met before. "Hey, boys," he said. "I told you to never trust a cat." And the parrot, who was the only one among us who could speak his language, replied,
I'm sorry my friend is so dim, but thank you for rescuing us.
"Oh, it's nothing," he replied. "It's always a pleasure to shoot down a feline spaceship and give kitties grief." For of course, it was none other than the man with the laser gun who had shot down the ship as it had hovered above the sea. Our rescue was down to him. Now, this has been a long and I hope exciting story, so I'm going to cut the end a little short. It was indeed a great pleasure to return to the Bank of Pirates with the parrot. Our personal banker Joe was amazed to see us both safe and alive. He couldn't hide the surprise in his eyes when we walked into his office. The parrot said the words he did not wish to hear.
Thanks for keeping my diamond. I've come to take it back now.
Given that Marlowe was standing there with us, he had no choice but to be a good little banker and return our precious deposit. But what use was this diamond to us? It was stolen property. The only people who would buy it off us were pirates, and we had learned that they could not be trusted. I was longing to return home and to see my dear Jenny. The only thing Marlowe wanted was to get back to Earth as well. And even the parrot had to admit that we owed our lives to him. If we had been taken to the planet of the cats in that spaceship, we would have surely faced a fate worse than death. And so that is why I am very glad to say that we returned to the spaceship park, paid our enormous parking fee in birdseed as well as dog biscuits, and took off with Marlowe with the destination planet Earth programmed into the ship's navigation system.
Astropup, thank you so much. That was quite a dog's tale when you put all the stories together, starting with the space sharks and the shipwreck, which took us to the planet of the pirates, the good cat, and this final conclusion. There will be more Astropup stories, but we'll give them a little break for a while. In the meantime, you can catch up with all our hundreds of free audio stories on storynori.com. From me, Richard, goodbye.